For the upcoming tutorials, instead of just building a random typeface, I thought it would be a bit more interesting and helpful for you guys if we just talked about type anatomy. This way we will go through general rules of type design and hopefully they will give you more insight and freedom when you start developing your own typeface. Everyone might have different preferences as into what order to start creating their glyphs, but regardless of the order, what is the most important to remember is that, as in music, with type you want to have rhythm. And what I mean by that is that throughout the typeface you will have elements that repeat themselves, so you want them to be consistent. This will not only help you make a song instead of random noises, but it will help you enormously with the workflow. First of all, we are going to open the lowercase grid that we previously made. And before we start, I'm going to give you a few tips. First, go to the View tab and make sure Smart Guides is checked. Then that all the Snap to options are unchecked. This means Snap to Pixel, Snap to Point, Snap to Grid and Snap to Glyph. That's because we want everything to snap just to the guides and to the objects that we create. Second, go to the View tab, Guides, and make sure the guides are locked, just so we don't accidentally move them as we create our glyphs. And last, go to Window, Layers, and create another layer by clicking on the plus icon at the bottom. Then double click the new layer and rename it to Glyphs. And make sure you leave it selected. This is not only to keep your workspace neat, but also makes things easier when we want to export the glyphs. The tips that I just gave you are very small, but they will save you some annoyance in the future, so make sure you use them every time you work on your glyphs. And the first glyph that I'm going to start with is the lowercase o. First, let's just grab the ellipse tool from the toolbar and create a circle with the x height equal to that of the grid. To make sure you get a perfect circle, just hold down the Shift key. Set the fill to black and remove the stroke. Now the first thing that should be in your mind when you see this shape is Overshoot and Undershoot, so we are going to do just that. Go to Window, Transform. In the Transform panel, make sure you have the anchor point in the center. Then go to Height, and since I use 3% increase for Overshoot and 3% for Undershoot, I'm just going to type in plus 6%. And Illustrator is going to do the math for you, so you don't need to worry about that. Next, with the object selected, go to Edit and select Copy. Then again, Edit, and this time select Paste in Front. Now let's say we want the width of the vertical stroke of the O to be 135 points. And given the fact that the O has two vertical strokes, we are going to go back to the Transform panel, and from the width, which is here, we are going to subtract 135 twice. Next, the horizontal strokes, and here we need to deal with optical compensation. That is because horizontal strokes seem thicker. And what I use is a 10% decrease in size for horizontal strokes. You can either have a calculator on the side, like I usually have, or just do the math in Illustrator. And one way to do that is to select the rectangle tool from the toolbar, click on the artboard, preferably somewhere away from the ellipse, and in this panel just type in 135 points minus 10%, then click OK. Now if we look at the Transform panel, you will notice that Illustrator calculated the height for us. And all we need to do is to copy that value. Just select it and hit Ctrl C. Go to the toolbar and click on the Selection tool. Select the inner ellipse, go to the Transform panel and subtract the value twice from the height. Select the height, type in minus, hit Ctrl V, then press Enter. and again minus, Ctrl V and enter. Delete the rectangle by selecting it and pressing delete on your keyboard. Then select both ellipses with click and drag. Go to the toolbar and select the Shape Builder tool. While holding down the Alt key on your keyboard, click on the ellipse in the middle. This is going to cut out the ellipse that was in the center. Now we have our first glyph. If we study the anatomy of this glyph, we will notice two components. The bawl, which is basically the stroke, and then the counter, which is in the center part, basically the ellipse that we just cut out.